Captain Min-jun Park stared at the readings on his screen for the third time. The numbers did not change. Something massive was moving through space toward Earth. Something that should not exist. "Sir, are you seeing this?" Lieutenant Sarah Kim called from her station across the command center. Her voice carried worry that she tried to hide. Min-jun walked over to her computer. Sarah was the best scientist they had at the Deep Space Detection Center. If she was worried, then everyone should be worried. "What am I looking at?" Min-jun asked. "Ships," Sarah said. "Big ones. Really big ones. They're coming out of hyperspace just past Pluto." Min-jun felt his stomach drop. Humanity had only learned about hyperspace travel from alien radio signals they picked up 5 years ago. They knew other species existed, but no one had ever visited Earth before. "How many ships?" Min-jun asked. Sarah's fingers moved across her keyboard. New numbers appeared on the screen. 200. Maybe more. They're still coming. In the Kepler 438 system, observer Kethara watched the same readings appear on her screens. She had been monitoring this part of space for the Galactic Council for 20 years. Nothing interesting ever happened here. Until now. "No, no, no," Kethara whispered. She knew those ship designs. Everyone in the galaxy knew those ship designs. The Zephyrians were heading toward the small blue planet called Earth. Kethara had read the reports about Earth. The humans who lived there were still primitive. They had not even left their own solar system yet. They used chemical rockets and nuclear weapons. Their technology was thousands of years behind the rest of the galaxy. The Zephyrians had destroyed 17 civilizations. They never lost a battle. They never showed mercy. And now, they were going to Earth. Back on Earth, Admiral Chen Wei stormed into the command center. "Tell me this is not what I think it is," he said. Min-jun stood up straight. "We have confirmed contact with alien vessels, sir. Large fleet. Unknown intentions." "Unknown?" Admiral Chen looked at the screens. "Captain, when someone shows up at your door with 200 warships, their intentions are pretty clear." Sarah pulled up new data. "Sir, I'm reading their ship specifications. These vessels are massive. Each one is bigger than our largest space station. And they're armed with weapons I can't even identify." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. Earth had been found. And whoever found them had come with an army. The first alien transmission came 6 hours later. It appeared on every screen, every television, every phone on Earth. The creature that spoke was tall and thin, with 4 arms and skin that looked like black metal. Its voice was cold and empty. "I am Zarthek, commander of the Zephyrian Empire. Your world has been selected for acquisition. You have 1 rotation of your planet to surrender completely. Any resistance will result in total elimination of your species." End quote. The message ended. Earth went quiet. In space stations across the galaxy, other species received the same message through their monitoring systems. Observer Kethara immediately sent an emergency report to the Galactic Council. "The humans are about to be destroyed," she wrote. "The Zephyrians have arrived at Earth with a full invasion fleet. Based on previous encounters, the humans will either surrender within hours or be eliminated within days. Request permission to document the events for historical records." The response came back quickly. "Permission granted. Document everything. The fall of another civilization must be recorded so others can learn." On Earth, governments around the world held emergency meetings. Most wanted to surrender immediately. The alien ships were too big, too advanced, too powerful. Fighting would only lead to everyone dying. Min-jun sat in the emergency meeting with world leaders. President Martinez of the Americas Union spoke first. "We have to surrender," she said. "Look at those ships. Look at their weapons. We might as well throw rocks at them." Prime Minister Thompson of the European Federation agreed. "Our nuclear weapons probably can't even scratch their hulls." This is not a fight we can win. Minjun stood up. Every eye in the room turned to him. With respect, you're all thinking about this wrong. Excuse me? President Martinez said. You're thinking like civilized people, Minjun said. You're thinking about formal battles and fair fights. But this isn't a fair fight. It never was. Admiral Chen nodded slowly. I'm suggesting we don't fight fair. I'm suggesting we fight like humans. Sarah had been quiet during the meeting, but now she spoke up. I've been analyzing their transmission signal. Their technology is incredibly advanced, but it's also incredibly rigid. Everything is designed for maximum efficiency. No waste, no backup systems, no creative solutions. Meaning, Prime Minister Thompson asked, meaning they probably don't expect creative solutions from us, Sarah said. They expect us to either surrender or fight them the same way other species fought them. With energy weapons and shield generators and space battles. Minjun smiled for the first time since the aliens arrived. But we don't have energy weapons or shield generators. No, Sarah said, returning his smile. We have something else. What? Admiral Chen asked. Minjun looked around the room. We have nuclear weapons. We have bullets. We have bombs. We have things that go boom instead of zap. And we have something else that's even more important. Which is, we have humans. And humans don't like being told what to do. Observer Kethara watched the human planet with growing confusion. The deadline for surrender was approaching, but she was not receiving any surrender signals from Earth. The humans were not responding to the Zephyrian demands at all. This was strange. Every other species had surrendered by now. The longest any civilization had waited was 6 hours. The humans had been silent for 22 hours. Maybe their communication systems are primitive, Kethara said to herself. Maybe they don't know how to respond. But deep in her heart, she suspected something else. Something that made her both excited and terrified. Maybe the humans were not going to surrender at all. The deadline passed. No surrender came from Earth. Instead, every military base on the planet went to full alert. Nuclear submarines moved to launch positions. Missile silos opened their doors. Soldiers checked their weapons and prepared for war. Zarthek stared at his scanners in disbelief. They refuse to surrender? It appears so, Commander, his aide replied. Should we proceed with planetary bombardment? Zarthek had destroyed worlds before. It was always easy, quick, clean. But something about this small blue planet made him pause. No, he said finally. Begin ground assault. I want to understand what kind of species would choose death over surrender. Then we will eliminate them properly. The Zephyrian landing ships began their descent toward Earth. Observer Kethara watched with growing dread. The humans were about to face the most powerful military force in the galaxy. She wondered if they truly understood what they had chosen to fight. The first Zephyrian landing ships touched down in major cities around the world. Each ship was the size of a city block and carried 1,000 Zephyrian warriors. They expected to find humans cowering in fear, ready to beg for mercy. Instead, they found empty streets and silent buildings. Commander Vex Tar emerged from his landing ship in New York City. His 4 arms held advanced plasma weapons. His natural armor could stop any energy weapon the galaxy had ever created. He was ready for battle. The city was too quiet. Spread out. Vex Tar ordered his warriors. Find the humans. Begin the harvest. The Zephyrians moved through the empty streets in perfect formation. They had done this 1,000 times before, on 1,000 different worlds. Every step was planned. Every movement was efficient. Then the first building exploded. The bomb had been hidden in the foundation of an old office building. When it went off, it brought down the entire structure onto the street below. 50 Zephyrian warriors disappeared under tons of concrete and steel. Vex Tar spun around, searching for the source of the attack. He saw nothing. No energy weapons. No soldiers. Just falling debris and dust. What was that? One of his warriors asked. Before Vextar could answer, another building exploded. Then, another. The humans were bringing down their own city on top of the invaders. In the command center buried deep under Washington, D.C., Min Jun watched the reports come in from around the world. The plan was working, but barely. London reports successful detonation of charges in Zone 7, came a voice from the radio. Tokyo says they've eliminated one landing party completely. Moscow is requesting more ammunition. Sarah looked up from her computer screen. She had been studying pieces of Zephyrian armor that were recovered from the first bombing. Min Jun, you need to see this. He walked over to her station. On the screen was a detailed analysis of the alien armor. Their protection is designed to absorb and redirect energy attacks, Sarah explained. Plasma weapons, laser weapons, particle beams. Their armor just soaks it all up and spreads the energy harmlessly across the surface. But Min Jun could hear there was more. But it's not designed for kinetic impact. Bullets, explosions, things that hit hard and fast. Their armor might as well be paper against our weapons. Min Jun smiled grimly. So their greatest strength is useless against us. Completely useless. Every battle they've ever fought was against species that used energy weapons. We're the first civilization they've encountered that still uses primitive kinetic weapons. In New York, Commander Vextar was learning this lesson the hard way. His warriors were taking cover behind crashed vehicles as bullets flew around them. Real bullets made of metal that tore through their armor like it was not even there. Where are they shooting from? Vextar demanded. His warriors pointed in all directions. The humans were everywhere and nowhere. They fired from windows, from rooftops, from sewers. They appeared, shot, and disappeared again before the Zephyrians could respond. Commander, our plasma weapons cannot penetrate the human structures, reported one warrior. Their buildings are made of primitive materials that absorb our energy attacks. Vextar stared in disbelief. The concrete and steel that humans used for construction was too simple for their advanced weapons to destroy effectively. Their plasma beams were designed to cut through sophisticated alien alloys, not crude human materials. A human soldier appeared at the end of the street. He was carrying what looked like a metal tube on his shoulder. Vextar raised his plasma weapon to fire. The human fired first. The rocket-propelled grenade hit Vextar in the chest and exploded. The Zephyrian commander's armor, which had protected him from the most advanced weapons in the galaxy, could not stop a simple human explosive. Observer Kethara watched the battle reports with growing amazement. According to her sensors, the Zephyrians were not winning. They were not even holding their ground. They were being pushed back by the humans. This was impossible. The Zephyrians had never been pushed back by anyone. Computer, verify sensor readings, she commanded. Sensors confirmed accurate. Human forces are inflicting significant casualties on Zephyrian ground troops. Zephyrian advance has stalled in all major population centers. Kethara sent an urgent message to the Galactic Council. Humans are resisting Zephyrian invasion. Repeat. Humans are successfully resisting. Request immediate observation fleet to document this unprecedented event. The response came back within minutes. Observation fleet dispatched. Continue monitoring. Galaxy is watching. On Earth, the battle was spreading beyond the cities. Zephyrian forces tried to establish bases in rural areas, thinking they would face less resistance there. They were wrong. Farmer Chen Wei Ming had lived his entire life in the hills of rural China. He knew every path, every cave, every hiding spot, in 100 square kilometers. When the aliens landed in his valley, he was ready for them. Chen had no military training. He had never fought in a war. But he had something the Zephyrians did not expect: He had neighbors. And like him, his neighbors did not like uninvited guests. The Zephyrians set up their base in what used to be Chen's wheat field. They thought they were safe in the open ground where they could see enemies approaching from far away. They did not know about the tunnels. Chen and his neighbors had spent 3 days digging tunnels under the field. When the aliens arrived, the humans were already underneath them. The attack came at dawn. Explosives planted under the alien base went off all at once. Before the smoke cleared, 100 farmers armed with hunting rifles emerged from hidden positions and began shooting. The Zephyrians tried to return fire, but they could not see their targets clearly. The humans used the smoke and confusion to move closer. Some carried ancient weapons, swords, knives, even farming tools. When the Zephyrians' plasma weapons could not lock onto the humans in the smoke, the battle became hand-to-hand combat. The aliens found themselves fighting farmers who had spent their lives doing hard physical work. It was not much of a fight. Back in space, Commander Zarthek received increasingly desperate reports from his ground forces. "Sir, we are requesting immediate reinforcement for all ground operations." Reinforcement? Zarthek could not believe what he was hearing. "You are the Zephyrian Empire's finest warriors. You are fighting primitive humans with basic weapons. How do you require reinforcement?" "Ma. Sir, the humans do not fight like other species. They do not follow predictable patterns. They appear to coordinate without central command. And their weapons, while primitive, are highly effective against our armor. When their tentas..." Zarthek studied the tactical displays. His forces controlled less than 5% of the human planet. Worse, they were losing ground every hour. "Prepare the orbital bombardment cannons," Zarthek ordered. "We will burn this world from space." "Sir, orbital bombardment was not supposed to be necessary. The humans should have surrendered by now." "The humans," Zarthek said slowly, "are not behaving as they should. They are not behaving as any species should. Burn them. Burn them all." But Minjun and Sarah had been expecting this. While the ground battle raged, they had been preparing for the next phase of the war. "Are the orbital platforms ready?" Minjun asked. "All 17 platforms are in position," Sarah confirmed. "Nuclear warheads, armed and targeted. The aliens think they can burn us from space," Minjun said. "Time to show them that humans can fight in space too." The Zephyrian ships began charging their orbital bombardment weapons. Energy built up in massive cannons designed to turn continents into glass. They never got the chance to fire. The nuclear missiles, launched from hidden platforms, scattered throughout Earth's orbital space. The Zephyrians had not detected the platforms because they were too simple, too primitive for their advanced sensors to notice. 17 nuclear warheads detonated against the Zephyrian fleet. The ship's shields absorbed most of the energy, but the electromagnetic pulses from the explosions did something unexpected. They disrupted the Zephyrians' communication systems. For the first time in their history, the Zephyrian warriors could not hear the hive mind that coordinated their actions. They were alone, confused, cut off from the central command that told them what to do and how to do it. The humans struck immediately. Every resistance cell on Earth attacked at the same moment. Without coordination from their hive mind, the Zephyrians could not respond effectively. Observer Kethara watched in awe as the human planet erupted in coordinated violence. Somehow, the primitive humans had discovered the Zephyrians' greatest weakness and exploited it perfectly. "Galaxy Command, this is Observer Kethara. The impossible is happening. The humans are winning." The Galactic Council chamber had never been so crowded. Representatives from 200 species filled every available space. Emergency broadcasts from across the galaxy showed the same impossible images: humans winning a war against the Zephyrians. Council leader Mordak called for order. "Observer Kethara, please explain what you are seeing at the human world." Kethara's voice shook as she spoke. "Honorable Council, The Zephyrian invasion force is in retreat. Repeat. The Zephyrians are retreating from Earth. Silence filled the chamber. The word retreat had never been used to describe Zephyrian forces before. How many human casualties? Asked Representative Velkoth of the Andorian Union. That's the strange part, Kethara replied. Human casualties are minimal. The Zephyrians are suffering massive losses, while the humans appear to be getting stronger. On Earth, Captain Minjun Park stood in what used to be Commander Vextar's command post. The Zephyrian equipment was scattered around the room, abandoned when the aliens fled. Sarah Kim worked at one of the alien computers, her fingers moving quickly across the strange controls. I'm in their system, she said. Minjun, you need to see this. He walked over to her station. On the screen were star maps showing Zephyrian territories across the galaxy. Red dots marked conquered worlds. Yellow dots showed current invasion targets. There are so many, Minjun whispered. How many worlds have they destroyed? 17 complete conquests, Sarah read from the data. But look at this. She pointed to a series of blue dots scattered throughout Zephyrian space. These are labor camps. They don't destroy every world. Some they keep for slaves. Minjun studied the map carefully. Each blue dot represented millions of enslaved beings. How long have these camps existed? Person 2. Some for over a century. The Velkari system has been enslaved for 53 years. The Theknari for 32 years. Sarah's voice filled with anger. Action of the 40. Action of the 40. They've been using entire civilizations as slaves, and the galaxy just let it happen. The galaxy was afraid, Minjun said. Everyone was too scared of the Zephyrians to fight back. Sarah turned to look at him. What if we changed that? What if we showed the galaxy that the Zephyrians can be beaten? Before Minjun could answer, alarms started ringing throughout the command center. Admiral Chen's voice came over the speakers. All units to battle stations. Zephyrian reinforcement fleet detected. Large formation approaching from outside the solar system. Minjun and Sarah ran to the main display. New red dots were appearing on the screen faster than they could count. How many ships? Minjun asked. Over 500, came the reply. It's their entire reserve fleet. In the Galactic Council chamber, Observer Kethara delivered the news with a heavy heart. The Zephyrians have committed their strategic reserve to the human world. They are bringing everything they have. Then it's over, said Representative Quintar. The humans fought well, but they cannot stand against the full might of the Zephyrian Empire. We should prepare memorial services, added another representative. The humans deserve to be remembered as the first species to make the Zephyrians bleed. But Kethara was not so sure. She had watched the humans fight for weeks now. They did not think like other species. They did not give up when things looked impossible. Council leader, she said carefully. I request permission to move closer to the human system. For better observation. Granted, Mordak replied. Document their final moments. Galaxy must learn from their courage. On Earth, Minjun called an emergency meeting of all resistance leaders. Video screens showed commanders from every continent. They're bringing everything, he told them. 500 ships, maybe more. This is their entire fleet. So what do we do? Asked General Martinez from South America. No, Minjun agreed. We can't fight them. But we don't have to. Sarah stepped forward. We've been studying their data. The Zephyrian Empire is spread across dozens of star systems. If they're bringing their entire fleet here, that means they're leaving all those other systems defenseless. What are you suggesting? Asked Commander Okonkwo from Africa. Minjun smiled. I'm suggesting we stop playing defense. I'm suggesting we go on the attack. The room fell silent. Attack? With what ships? Humanity barely had a space program. Sarah pulled up the star map on the main screen. We've captured 60 Zephyrian ships intact. Their crews abandoned them when the hive mind went down. We can fly those ships. We gun. To where? Asked General Liu from Asia. Minjun pointed to the blue dots on the map. To every slave world in their empire. We free them all, while their fleet is busy here. That's insane, said General Martinez. We don't know how to operate alien ships. We don't know those star systems. We don't even know if the slaves want to be freed. Then we learn, Minjun said simply. We learn fast, and we learn together. Because if we don't try this now, we'll never get another chance. Sarah had been quiet while the generals argued. Now, she spoke up. There's something else. Something I found in their data that changes everything. She typed commands into the computer. New information appeared on the screen. The Zephyrians aren't just conquerors, she explained. They're running out of food. Their homeworld is dying. They need slave worlds to grow food for them. If we free enough slaves, their empire collapses. Minjun felt the pieces falling into place. They're not fighting for glory or territory. They're fighting for survival. And they're losing. How do you know? Asked General Liu. Because they sent everything here, Minjun replied. If they were winning, they would have sent a small force to finish us off. Sending everything means they're desperate. It means we hurt them worse than we thought. Within hours, teams of human engineers and captured Zephyrian technicians were working together to understand the alien ships. The Zephyrians who had surrendered were surprised to find that humans did not kill prisoners. They were even more surprised to learn that humans wanted to work with them. You wish to free our slaves? Asked former Commander Vextar. His armor had been removed, and he looked smaller somehow. More fragile. We wish to free everyone's slaves, Sarah replied. Including yours. Vextar tilted his head in confusion. I do not understand. You defeated us. By right of conquest, you own us now. That's not how humans work, Minjun explained. We don't own people. People own themselves. The concept was so foreign to the Zephyrian that he struggled to understand it. His species had been either masters or slaves for so long that they had forgotten any other way to live. If you help us, Sarah offered, you can help free your own people too. And slowly, carefully, former enemies began working together. The first liberation fleet launched 3 days later. 12 captured Zephyrian ships, each crewed by humans and voluntary Zephyrian guides. Their destination, the Velkari slave world. Observer Kethara watched the small fleet disappear into hyperspace and immediately sent a message to the Galactic Council. Humans have left their star system. Repeat. Humans are conducting offensive operations. The response came back quickly. Impossible. They are using captured Zephyrian vessels. Council leader. I believe the humans intend to attack Zephyrian slave worlds. Marka. Quote. 0. Abent for Marka. Abent for Marka. Ron Market Voring. Abent for Market Voring. Abent for Market Voring. 00 Abent for Market Voring. Another long pause. Then, continue observation. If humans are attacking the Zephyrian Empire, then the galaxy must know. As the main Zephyrian fleet approached Earth, something unprecedented happened. Other species began moving ships toward the battle zone. Not to fight, but to watch. For the first time in galactic history, someone was fighting the Zephyrians and winning. The galaxy had to see what humans would do next. Representative Multar of the Centauri Federation spoke for many when he said, if these humans can truly defeat the Zephyrians, then everything changes. The balance of power in the galaxy changes. Our futures change. What if they become the next Zephyrians? Asked Representative Kredak. What if humans become the new conquerors? Then we will deal with that when it happens, replied Council Leader Mordak. But first, Let us see if they can finish what they started. As the massive Zephyrian fleet entered Earth's solar system, Min Jun Park prepared for the battle that would decide not just Earth's fate, but the fate of every enslaved world in the galaxy. The galaxy watched. The galaxy waited. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy hoped. The Velkari had not seen sunlight in 53 years. Their world had been covered in gray metal structures that blocked the sky. Every day, they worked in mines and factories. Every night, they dreamed of freedom they thought would never come. Worker Sekloth moved slowly through the processing plant. His 6 legs ached from another 18-hour shift. Around him, thousands of other Velkari sorted raw materials under the watching eyes of Zephyrian guards. Then something impossible happened. Explosions echoed from the spaceport. Emergency alarms began wailing. The Zephyrian guards looked confused and afraid. All workers return to quarters immediately, announced a guard. Security alert in progress. But instead of heading to their quarters, the Velkari workers stopped and listened. Those explosions did not sound like accidents. They sounded like weapons. Someone was attacking the Zephyrians. In space above the planet, Captain Elena Kim piloted her captured Zephyrian ship toward the orbital defense stations. She was Sarah's younger sister, a former fighter pilot who had volunteered for the first liberation mission. Remember, she spoke into a radio. We disable their communications first. Cut off their ability to call for help, then take out their weapons. We want the stations intact so we can use them later. Copy that, Elena, came the reply from the other ships in her fleet. Liberation Force 1 is ready. The human ships looked exactly like Zephyrian vessels. The defense stations did not realize they were under attack until the first electromagnetic pulse bombs detonated. In seconds, the entire orbital defense network went dark. On the planet's surface, Commander Zeke Moore felt panic rising in his chest. His communication array was dead. His orbital support was gone. And according to his sensors, 12 ships were landing outside the main processing center. How many guards do we have on world? He demanded. 200, replied his aide. But sir, if those ships are full of warriors, they cannot be. The Velkari have no ships. They have no weapons. This must be some kind of malfunction. But when the landing ships opened, what emerged were not more Zephyrians. They were creatures the commander had never seen before. Bipedal beings, with strange weapons and determination in their eyes. The humans had come to free the Velkari. Elena led her team through the main gate of the processing center. The Zephyrian guards tried to stop them with plasma weapons, but their shots went wide. The humans moved in patterns the guards could not predict. This is Elena Kim, of Earth Liberation Forces, she announced over the facility's speakers. All Velkari workers, please move away from the guards and find cover. We are here to free you. Sekloth heard the strange voice and felt something he had not experienced in decades. Hope. Around him, other workers looked at each other with the same expression. Free them? Was such a thing possible? The battle for the processing center lasted only 2 hours. The Zephyrian guards fought bravely, but they were outnumbered and outmaneuvered. When the fighting ended, Elena stood before thousands of Velkari workers. My name is Elena Kim, she said through a translation device. I come from a planet called Earth. 3 weeks ago, the Zephyrians invaded our world. We fought them. We won. Now we're here to help you fight them too. Sekloth stepped forward. He was old and tired, but his voice was strong. You defeated the Zephyrians? That is impossible. A lot of impossible things have been happening lately, Elena replied with a smile. Would you like to help make a few more impossible things happen? Within hours, the news spread across the galaxy. The humans had not only defeated a Zephyrian invasion, they were now liberating Zephyrian slave worlds. Observer Kethara found herself updating the Galactic Council every few hours. The Velkari system has been liberated, she reported. Human forces have freed over 2 million Velkari slaves. The local Zephyrian garrison has either surrendered or fled. What about the Zephyrian fleet at Earth? Asked Council Leader Mordak. Still engaged, but Council Leader, something else is happening. The freed Velkari are volunteering to help liberate other worlds. The humans are forming an alliance. In the Galactic Council chamber, representatives whispered among themselves. An alliance of freed slaves, led by humans? It sounded like something from ancient legends. Representative Theknol of the Rigel Collective stood up. Council Leader, I motion that we send observers to monitor these liberation operations. If the humans are truly freeing slave worlds, this could change everything. Seconded, called out Representative Zarkth. My people were enslaved by the Zephyrians 200 years ago. If there is hope of freedom, Mordak called for order. Motion approved. Observer fleets will monitor human liberation operations. We must understand what these humans intend. On Earth, Minjun Park watched reports from the liberation missions while preparing for the main Zephyrian fleet's arrival. The orbital platforms were ready. The ground defenses were in place. But this time would be different. Sir, called Lieutenant Jones from the communications station, we're receiving messages from across the galaxy. Other species want to help. Minjun looked up in surprise. Help us? Who? The Andorians are offering medical supplies. The Centauri want to send ships. Jones paused, checking his list. The Rigel Collective is asking if we need weapons. Sarah Kim walked over from her computer terminal. It's happening faster than we expected, she said. Word about the liberations is spreading. Species that have been afraid of the Zephyrians for centuries are suddenly seeing hope. How many liberation fleets do we have operating now? Minjun asked. 7 fleets, hitting 7 different slave worlds, each one successful so far. And Minjun, the freed slaves are helping. They know Zephyrian systems better than we do. They're showing us weaknesses we never would have found. On the liberated world of Theknora, former slave Quindal worked alongside human engineers to repair damaged infrastructure. His people, the Theknari, had been enslaved for 32 years. They had become experts at maintaining Zephyrian technology. Your people fight differently than we expected, Quindal told Captain Maria Santos, who commanded the liberation fleet for this system. How so? Maria asked. Other species who tried to resist the Zephyrians always fought alone. Each world for itself. But you humans, you bring everyone together. You make enemies into friends. Maria nodded. That's because we learned something important. No one can fight the Zephyrians alone. But together, all of us, together, we're stronger than they are. Quindal looked up at the sky, where human and Theknari ships worked side by side to repair the orbital stations. Yes, he said quietly. Together, we are stronger. The pattern repeated across a dozen worlds. Human liberation fleets arrived, freed the slaves, and immediately began working with them to liberate other worlds. The alliance grew. With each victory, Supreme Commander Zarthek received the reports with growing fury and fear. Half his empire was in rebellion. Slave worlds were rising up with human help. His communications networks were jammed. His supply lines were cut. And still, the main human world had not fallen. Sir, reported his aide, we're receiving surrender offers from garrison commanders on 17 worlds. They say they cannot hold their positions without support. No surrender, Zarthek said firmly. We fight to the last warrior. If we lose this war, the Zephyrian Empire ends forever. Sir, perhaps we should consider negotiation. The humans have shown mercy to prisoners. Maybe. Zarthek turned to face his aide. The humans have shown mercy because they are winning. Do you think they will show mercy to the species that has enslaved half the galaxy? Do you think the freed slaves will show mercy to their former masters? The aide fell silent. They both knew the answer. As the massive Zephyrian fleet prepared for the final assault on Earth, Min Jun received a message that changed everything. It came from Observer Kethara herself. Captain Park. This is Observer Kethara of the Galactic Council. I know this is unusual, but I needed to speak with you directly. Min Jun looked at Sarah in surprise. Ma'am, we're honored, but why are you contacting us? Because in all my years of observing civilizations, I have never seen anything like what your species is doing. You're not just fighting for your own survival. You're fighting for everyone's freedom. The galaxy is watching, Captain. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy believes that real change is possible. Kethara paused, then continued. I'm sending you tactical data about the approaching Zephyrian fleet. It's not much, but it might help. Why are you helping us? Sarah asked. Because, Kethara replied, someone needs to. And you humans have shown that sometimes, someone actually can. As the final battle for Earth approached, something unprecedented happened. Ships from 20 different species moved toward the Sol system. Not to fight, but to witness. The galaxy wanted to see how this war would end. For the first time in galactic history, hope was stronger than fear. The final Zephyrian fleet filled Earth's sky like a dark cloud. 500 ships, armed with weapons that could crack planets. Supreme Commander Zarthek stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the small blue world that had brought his empire to its knees. Begin planetary bombardment, he ordered. Turn this world to glass. But as the massive weapons charged, something unexpected happened. Ships began appearing all around the Zephyrian fleet, not attacking, just watching. Vessels from dozens of different species had come to witness the end of this impossible war. Sir, reported a confused technician, we're being surrounded by observer ships. They're not hostile, but there are hundreds of them. Zarthek studied the displays with growing unease. Half the galaxy had come to watch Earth's final battle. Why are they here? I believe, said his aide quietly, they want to see how this ends. On Earth, Min Jun Park stood in the command center, surrounded by tactical displays showing the approaching doom. The Zephyrian fleet was too big, too powerful. Even with all their victories, humanity could not survive a direct orbital bombardment. Sir, called Sarah Kim from her station, I'm detecting massive energy buildup in the Zephyrian fleet. They're charging their planet-killer weapons. Min Jun nodded grimly. They had known this moment would come. Signal all liberation fleets. Execute Operation Last Stand. Across the galaxy, the message reached every human ship, every liberated world, every freed slave who had joined their alliance. It was time for the final gambit. Supreme Commander Zarthek watched his weapons reach full charge. In moments, the troublesome human world would be nothing but molten rock. The rebellion would end. The Empire would survive. Firing in 10 seconds, announced the weapons officer. 5 seconds. Firing now. Nothing happened. Sir, weapons are not responding. All systems showing ready, but no energy discharge. Zarthek felt ice in his stomach. What is wrong with our weapons? Unknown, sir. Running diagnostics. That's when the reports started coming in from across the Empire. Every Zephyrian installation, every fleet, every garrison was under simultaneous attack. The liberation forces had struck everywhere at once. Sir, we're receiving distress calls from the homeworld. Human forces have appeared in-system and are jamming all communications. Impossible, Zarthek said. The humans have no ships capable of reaching our homeworld. They're using our ships, sir. Ships they captured from our fleets, crewed by freed slaves who know our systems better than we do. On the bridge of the captured dreadnought Liberation, Captain Elena Kim led the assault on the Zephyrian homeworld. Her crew was a mixture of humans, Velkari, Theknari, and dozens of other freed species. Together, they had traveled across the galaxy to strike at the heart of the Empire. Target their orbital platforms first, Elena ordered. Cut off their ability to call for help. With pleasure, replied Sekloth, the former Velkari slave who now served as her weapons officer. The irony was not lost on either of them that a slave was now commanding the weapons that would free his people forever. The electromagnetic pulse bombs detonated across the Zephyrian homeworld's orbital defenses. In seconds, the center of the Empire was cut off from the rest of their fleet. Back at Earth, Zarthek realized what was happening. They planned this. All of it. They let us bring our entire fleet here while they attacked everywhere else. Orders, sir? Zarthek stared at the blue planet that had outsmarted an empire. Open a communication channel to the human world. Minjun's face appeared on the main screen. He looked tired, but determined. I am Supreme Commander Zarthek of the Zephyrian Empire. I wish to discuss terms. Terms? Minjun raised an eyebrow. You came here to destroy us. You enslaved half the galaxy. What terms do you think you deserve? My fleet can still destroy your world, Zarthek said desperately. No, Minjun replied calmly. It cannot. Your weapons rely on quantum entanglement communicators to coordinate firing sequences. Those communicators have been jammed by electromagnetic pulses generated at your homeworld. Your fleet is just scrap metal now. Zarthek felt his world crumbling around him. The humans had not just outfought his empire. They had outthought it. What do you want? He asked. The same thing we've wanted from the beginning, Minjun replied. Freedom for everyone, including your people. My people? Sarah Kim stepped into view beside Minjun. We've been studying your society, Commander. The Zephyrian Empire wasn't always an empire of conquerors. Your homeworld is dying. Your people turned to conquest because they were starving. But there are other solutions. On screens throughout the Zephyrian fleet, freed slaves from a dozen worlds began speaking. They talked about their homeworlds, about resources that could be shared, about trade instead of conquest. Observer Kethara watched from her ship and spoke into her recorder. Historic moment. Humans are offering alliance to defeated enemy, proposing cooperation instead of punishment. Across the galaxy, other observers reported the same impossible scene. The victorious humans were not demanding surrender. They were offering partnership. Former slave Quindal spoke from the liberated world of Theknora. Commander Zarthek, my people were engineers before you enslaved us. We can help heal your dying world. We want to help. Another former slave, this one from the Andorian colonies, added, we have medical technology that could help your people adapt to new environments. No one has to starve. Zarthek listened to former slaves offering aid to their former masters. It was beyond his understanding. Why would you help us? We enslaved you. We killed your people. Because, said Minjun simply, that's what people do. When someone is drowning, you try to save them, even if they were the one who pushed you into the water. The Galactic Council chamber was silent as representatives watched the impossible scene unfold. Council leader Mordak finally spoke. They're serious. The humans are actually offering to help rebuild the Zephyrian Empire as a peaceful partner. I'm quote. The freed slaves are supporting this, added Representative Velkoth in amazement. They want to help their former oppressors. Representative Moltar stood up. Council leader, I move that we formally recognize the Human Liberation Alliance and offer whatever support they require. Seconded, came voices from across the chamber. All in favor? Every hand in the chamber rose. On his flagship, Zarthek faced the hardest decision in Zephyrian history. His empire was defeated. His fleets were scattered. His homeworld was under siege. He could order a final, futile battle that would accomplish nothing but more death. Or he could trust his enemies to show mercy. He began, then stopped. The words were hard to say. I accept your terms. The Zephyrian Empire surrenders, unconditionally. The cheers that echoed across the galaxy were unlike anything in recorded history. On liberated worlds, freed slaves celebrated alongside their rescuers. On observer ships, diplomats wept openly. In the Galactic Council chamber, representatives embraced each other. But the celebration was brief. There was work to do. Within days, relief fleets from a dozen species arrived at the Zephyrian homeworld. Medical ships, supply ships, engineering vessels. The dying planet that had spawned an empire of conquest became the center of the galaxy's greatest rescue effort. Minjun and Sarah traveled to the Zephyrian homeworld to oversee the relief operations. They found a world of gray skies and poisoned soil, where desperate people had turned to war because they saw no other choice. "It will take years to heal this world," Sarah said as they surveyed the damage. "Years," agreed former Supreme Commander Zarthek, who now served as liaison between his people and the relief effort. "But my people will have those years, because of you. Because humans chose mercy over vengeance." 3 months later, Minjun stood before the assembled Galactic Council as Earth's first ambassador to the galaxy. The speech he gave would be remembered for centuries. "We did not fight the Zephyrians because we wanted to conquer anyone. We fought because we wanted to be free. And when we won, we realized that freedom means nothing if others remain enslaved." He paused, looking around the chamber at representatives from across the galaxy. "The galaxy is big enough for all of us, rich enough to feed all of us, beautiful enough to share with all of us. We don't need empires. We don't need masters and slaves. We just need to remember that no matter how different we look, no matter how far apart our worlds are, we're all people, and people help each other." Observer Keth Ara, now serving as Earth's official liaison to the Galactic Council, made the final entry in her report. "The Human Liberation Alliance has changed the galaxy forever. Not through conquest, but through the simple idea that everyone deserves freedom. The age of empires is over. The age of cooperation has begun." As Minjun finished his speech and the representatives rose in applause, ships from hundreds of worlds worked together to heal the damage of centuries. Former enemies became partners. Former slaves became teachers. And in the center of it all, the small blue world called Earth continued to spin peacefully around its star, home to the species that had taught the galaxy how to hope again. The impossible had become possible, and the galaxy would never be the same.